And what would you say to the guys who are thinking about the Philippines as a perfect place to find a wife? They want to take a 2-week vacation to the Philippines. They want to find a wife and get married and bring it back to the US or a country in Europe.
I say don't make the same mistake I did. Learn from me.
Today we are going to talk to Paul about living in Dumaguete and if it's still a good city to move to or live in when traveling to the Philippines. After many years of traveling around Southeast Asia, I've found that most expats want different things, even though fundamentally we all want the same thing, which is a comfortable life. However, one thing that I've found as I became older is the access to healthcare is really and should be number one. I have been to many smaller cities and areas in the Philippines that do not have what I would consider Western quality healthcare. So I'd be interested to find out from Paul today what is life like in Dumaguete. Is it safe? And many other questions. So stay tuned. Before we get into the conversation with Paul, I want to highlight a small clip from the Department of Tourism just a few days ago. They are talking about how international travel will not be opening up for 2 to 3 years. They're going to focus on domestic tourism first.
Have you made projections on when the Philippines will get back to its pre-COVID days for hotel accommodation, occupancy, and etc.?
Tina, no one could tell us, when COVID happened, everybody thought it would be 2, 3, 4 months. No one thought it was going to be this long. And it's not, the curve is not flattening. So, it all depends on this vaccine. However, if this vaccine comes out, whether it's the UK, AstraZeneca, Oxford, or it's the US, Moderna, whatever, the ones from China, but nobody, are people going to take the vaccine? They did a survey in the US. Would you take it? And 67% said no, I'm not taking it. And only a small amount, 7% said yes. So it's all going to depend. The Department of Tourism in the Philippines came out with 10 destinations for the travel bubbles for these corridors. And so we're going to open up areas where there's no COVID in the Philippines, and we're going to do domestic tourism first. That's what's going to happen in the next 5-6 months. But international, I can tell you, it will be maybe middle of next year. But to be back to pre-COVID days, at least 2 years, 3 years, 2022, 2023.
So we got Paul here today, and we're going to ask him some questions about Philippines and why he chose that as a location. And for anybody who wants to read a little bit about his background or hear more about it, we won't go into that today, but he has several videos on his channel that you can watch that he talks about where he's from and all that stuff, but very microscopically. Can you give a thumbnail summary how long you've lived in the Philippines, where you lived before?
Well, basically, I'm kind of an international guy. I've lived in the Philippines almost 2 years now. In Dumaguete, a bit over a year, in Cebu City, about 3-4 months. So, and then I've lived in Norway, I've lived in Spain, I've lived in the United Arab Emirates, I've lived in the US for 20 years. So I've been all over the world, traveled a lot more places than I've lived. So, yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of the different places I've been.
And why have you been in the Philippines recently? What is drawing you towards that place?
Well, the motivation was work. I got into a conflict with a company over a non-compete, and basically I decided to leave. And the non-compete took 1 year from when I left till it expired. So I decided I'm going to take a year off and go enjoy life and then go back to work. And then while I was here, I realized that I wanted to kind of retire. So I retired. I decided I retired. I looked at my finances and decided I'm more than financially capable of staying here the rest of my life. So I decided to retire. A bit later on, I've kind of changed my mind. I kind of miss working, so I might go back to work. I haven't quite decided yet, but we'll see. Only the future will know. I'm an engineer by training, and I've been working in the oil field for 20 plus years now, so yeah.
But okay, that's interesting. But there are many choices in Southeast Asia where to live. Why have you kind of chosen the Philippines? You've been there for a while now.
Well, you typically are attracted to what you know, and I was married to a Filipina, so I had been to the Philippines 5-6 times before I moved here. So being married to Filipina and being here is kind of the familiarity of it. And of course I knew how pretty the girls were here and how good of a dating scene it is here, so that was an attraction. But also I love the nature here, I love the people here, so there was like, to me at the time, the Philippines felt like it had the whole package. There are minuses here, but for the most part, it's a lot of pluses and a few minuses. Yeah. So.
But you did visit a few other cities in Southeast Asia, or?
No, no. My plan was actually to go to Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, but I ended up staying here, and then the quarantine hit, so I've kind of been here, but my plan is to move on once the quarantine opens. But I've been in the Philippines, I've lived in Cebu City, I've lived of course in Dumaguete, and then I've been to Palawan, I've been to Baguio, I'm trying to think anywhere else. A short trip to Manila, like one day of course, but
Yeah,
I
and
think
you didn't like
that's it,
Manila.
yeah.
Why did you not like Manila?
I know you were in Makati, but I was one day in Manila, and the traffic and the pollution and all the beggars and all that, I decided I'm getting out of here. It's not what I signed up for. It's like I wanted to go see nature, I wanted to relax at a resort. I was here on vacation, so Manila was just like traffic, pollution, stress is not my type of scene. But I've heard from you that Makati is really nice, a bit different than the rest of Manila, so it's something I might look into in the future. But yeah, Manila in general wasn't my cup of tea, as we say. So.
Yeah, I understand. And Cebu was not, or Cebu City was not a place you wanted to stay long.
Well, also the traffic is really bad in Cebu City. The weird thing is, the first time I was in Cebu City was 2006 or 2007, and I loved it. I mean, I just loved it. When I first came there, I thought to myself, this is a place I will retire in the future. But when I moved there, the traffic, they told me the population has doubled in less than 15 years. So the traffic is horrendous, the pollution is bad, the noise pollution is bad. And I lived close to Ayala Mall, so I could walk over to the Ayala Mall. I didn't have to take taxis or anything like that. But still, there was something missing. I mean, just to get out of Cebu City, it seemed an hour to 2 hours just to get out of the city to go somewhere. And so I decided on Dumaguete because I'd seen many vloggers. So, yeah, to be honest, yes, because you see a lot of vloggers and you see the coffee shops they go to, the restaurants, you see the nature around there, and you feel a comfort factor. It's like you know the place. So there's a comfort factor with that, and I've actually warned some of my subscribers about that, because Dumaguete is just getting, again, too congested and too polluted and too many expats, and I think there are too many wonderful places in the Philippines that people could go to that are looking for a place like Dumaguete, that it's not as congested, not as many expats, and the prices will be cheaper. And I just want to if I was going to stay in the Philippines, I would want to move around quite a bit before deciding where I want to live.
Oh, okay. So you're planning to travel around the Philippines and visit a few more cities or areas?
Yes, absolutely. I'm planning to go to either Baguio or somewhere close to Baguio. I'm planning to go to CDO. I'm planning to go to Davao, and I'll probably put some other places on the list as well. I plan to live in each place 2 to 6 months and just kind of feel it out. I don't think you know a place that you've lived there at least a couple of months. In the beginning, it's just like you're on vacation. So
That's true. And what about Dumaguete? Is it like a real city, or is it spread out? And you have to, when you do your grocery shopping, you need a motorcycle or a car to get around, or can you just walk from your apartment to a grocery store?
No, I mean, you could probably get by with a trike, going on trikes, but it's so much more handy to have a scooter and be able to go zip from A to B to see friends and so on.
Okay. So it's not like you could rent a room in an apartment near a mall or a grocery store there. It's all spread out.
I mean, yes, you could rent a place beside the grocery store, but then you still want to go to a coffee shop down at the boulevard, and you got to take a trike there unless you want to walk for like 30 minutes. So no, it's not like my understanding of Makati. It's not like you can live somewhere and just walk everywhere. No, it's not like that at all. You got to have a scooter or a car to get around. And I would. The problem with Dumaguete now is that more and more people are getting cars. All the expats seem to have cars. Their girlfriends have cars. Their ex-girlfriends have cars. Filipinos are making more money, so they have cars, and it's just. I mean, I've talked to people who have lived here 10, 15 years, and they said it wasn't like that before. You seldom see a car, and now it's cars everywhere, and there's so many trikes. It's just, I think there's so many vloggers in Dumaguete that people come here because they feel a comfort factor, they see all the nature, they see a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in Dumaguete and Valencia and Bacong, and you go towards Darwin, there are lots of resorts, lots of places to go diving. So it's a very nice area. You got Apple Island. There's lots of good stuff, but Dumaguete proper is getting very congested. If I was going to live here, I'd live in Valencia, which is it's about 10, 15 minutes
what I
down.
wanted to ask about next. How far is that from Dumaguete, and is it easy to get to?
Well, the marketplace in Valencia to, let's say, the boardwalk, I would say, on a scooter, 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad drive. But again, also Valencia is starting to get congested. Everybody's buying a car there too. So I don't think it's going to be many years before Valencia is in the same seat as Dumaguete proper.
Okay. And do they have any malls or any kind of like shopping center in either Valencia or Dumaguete?
No shopping centers in Valencia. There's a market though, so that's good. And there are some shops. There's one coffee shop, and some restaurants. But if you're going to go to like a supermarket, you'd have to go down to Hypermart or Robinson. Hypermart is on the way to the boardwalk, so that's probably 8 to 10 minutes from the marketplace in Valencia.
And if you just arrive and you don't have a motorcycle or any transportation, can you hire or can you get on public transportation to go between the two places or kind of get around?
Yeah, you can take a trike. I mean, a trike is so cheap. I mean, you're paying 20 to 50 pesos, depending. If you're a white guy, they might ask you for 100 pesos, but you know.
Is it negotiable? Is it a set price?
Yeah, sometimes they say it's up to you. Because it's like they know for us, what's $1 or $2, right? But the Filipinos will haggle, they'll
But it's not like in Pattaya in Thailand where it's like 10 cents. It's a fixed fare or whatever it is.
Well, it is from a certain place to a certain place, but if you're white, they might try to, I wouldn't even call it scamming. They might just say, how much do you want to pay, and then you'll think, oh, it's 50 pesos or 100 pesos. What's that, right? It's nothing. But for them, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and if a single guy arrives in Dumaguete and he wants to socialize and meet uh, people of the opposite
Girls.
gender, where does he go? Does he go to bars, or does he go to the shopping centers, or walk around on the street? What does he do?
You know what? It's so easy to meet girls here. You just go anywhere, basically. You can go to the shopping mall, make eye contact, she smiles at you, you go over, just introduce yourself, say, hey, you know, my name is Paul, what are you doing? And just start talk about your background. They're very curious. So they'll ask you questions, and you say, just, hey, you want to go grab a coffee? And typically the answer is yes, whether they're interested or not. They might want a coffee, right? So no, it's not hard. There's also websites. You can meet girls on websites, and then or Facebook, and there's many places to meet girls. Meeting a girl here is not an issue. Now, if you're coming here just to meet girls, like that's your whole plan, that's the only thing you're interested in, I would say Dumaguete would be at the bottom of my list, because there are so many foreigners, so many expats. So you're kind of competing with a lot of other expats. While if you go to other places in the Philippines, like for example Davao, there's not many expats at all. So there's a lot more competition for you because there are no other expats. So if you're just thinking dating, I don't think Dumaguete is the best place. But it's wonderful. You can get really nice dates and everything. But for the ease of dating and the best women, there are many other places that would beat Dumaguete. But there's also, I would say this also, is like if you like Dumaguete, you can also travel the Philippines. You can have your home base in Dumaguete and then go to different places around. I mean, don't get stuck in one place, basically, you know.
Okay.
Travel.
And how about the nightclub scene or the evening scene? Do they have that there, or is it very close to zero?
No, they have a lot of it. They have the most famous one, I guess, is Why Not? And there's lots of bars. There's a lot of bars. So, but
And
yeah.
And when you say bars, are you talking about a bar stool on the corner, or is it like a real establishment?
No. It's a real establishment. They have a lot of good bars here with live bands, and because there's a lot of expats. So the advantage of Dumaguete, Valencia, Bacong, this area here, is that the disadvantage is that there's a lot of expats, but the advantage is also that there's a lot of expats because the expats have invested. So there's a lot of nice bars. There's a lot of nice restaurants with different cuisines. So you kind of get a feeling of a big town in a small town, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's the advantage, but the disadvantage also is that there's a lot of expats, so you get it both ways. So yeah, but in general, yes, there's a lot of bars, plenty of opportunity to meet women, but I mean, if you really want to meet a good girl, bar girls are not exactly the way to go.
You know? I agree. And a personal question, where did you meet your current girlfriend? Was that on the street or in a bar, or how did that?
No, it was at a restaurant. They call that a resto bar. She just started working there a couple of months ago, but it's mostly a restaurant, but they serve alcohol too. So she'd worked there for 2-3 months, and I was sitting there eating, and I started joking with her, and she's joking back with me, and just one thing led to another. So there's a video on my YouTube channel about how we met and how our relationship developed. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. And she was working there at the time, or she was just a patron?
No, she was working.
Oh,
she was working. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But it's not like a go-go bar or something crazy.
No. It's a restaurant that serves alcohol. So people go there mostly to eat, and then they might order a beer. So I talked to the owner. He told me, was it 70-30 or 80-20 food to alcohol? So food was their biggest profit or revenue. Yeah.
And I guess one of the, like you just described, the benefits of going to the Philippines is easy to socialize and meet people of the opposite gender. What made you sort of slow down, settle down a little bit, and just date one lady, so to say? Why did you change your mindset? What was the turning point?
Well, just she was different. That's how I can say it. She was way different than any other girl I've met here. First of all, her English is really good. Second, she's has goals in life, you know, and she likes to read, she likes to study, she likes to learn about things, and we have very much the same type of sense of humor. So we're like always laughing, and if you saw us together, you'd think we were very childish, basically. We just really childish stuff. So yeah, we laugh a lot. I mean, we really, really laugh a lot, and it's a good relationship. It's a really good relationship, and the quarantine, you know, was a great test for us because we were cooped up 24/7 for 4 months. So that was a good test. We passed that test. We didn't end up leaving. So yeah.
So in the future, when you travel the different cities in the Philippines, for starters, are you going to bring her with you, or how does this all work?
That's my plan. Yeah, to bring her with me. Yeah. So it's we're planning to go to different cities, and she's taken some. She said she's going to take a year or two off school, so she wants to go with me. She wants to travel. So yeah.
All right.
But the problem really for me is if I want to go abroad, as you know, our plan is to go to Malaysia or Thailand or Vietnam, and this thing called offloading, where you buy your ticket and you think you're ready to go, and you go there and they have an interview. Basically, if you're going to Malaysia, to be the Malaysian government has an interview with her, and they say, no, she can't go. Now you've already paid for tickets, hotels, and everything, and it's kind of, at that point,
exactly.
that's where I'm not sure. I might end up going and just spending a month or two in that place and then coming back.
Yeah.
As long as the borders are open, and if I leave, I can come back. Now, if I leave and I can't come back, I'll just end up staying.
Yep.
But yeah.
No, the offloading topic is one of the questions I have for you today. I don't know how much you've researched it or how much you've found out about it. I traveled with a female from the Philippines last year to Thailand, and we got pulled aside for an interview. It's called a secondary interview. And we had prepared our trip a little bit with lots of photos on the phone, etc., to show we had been together for a while. And that seemed to please the immigration officer, and we had to sign some papers, and we were on our way. But I read reports online that guys have booked tickets and planned vacations, and suddenly they're just stopped, or the Filipina is stopped from exiting her own country. Do you have any suggestions on how to prepare for that, or how to try to avoid that from happening? Are there any kind of rules or guidelines to kind of try to avoid that?
Well, I think the most important thing is that you actually show that this relationship is real. And I think at some countries you have to sign a piece of paper saying that you're responsible financially for everything that happens to this girl. And three, my advantage is that I have a YouTube channel and she's on my YouTube channel. So it's pretty obvious that this relationship is real. I mean, I'm not taking a girl there to, use and abuse or anything like that. So, and then also a suggestion that somebody told me was apply for a school. If she's applying for a school there and you pay the tuition and everything, and plus the relationship is real, I think that would probably make it easier for her to get in if she already got a place in that school. And it doesn't have to be, a nursing school or, any engineering school. It could be just like a cooking school where you go there once or twice a week for, let's say, 3 months,
Right.
So I think there are ways around it. And I think if you do your homework, you substantially reduce your chances of getting offloaded.
Okay.
I don't think there are any guarantees if you meet the wrong person at the wrong time with a bad mood, and
right.
I think no matter what, you're getting offloaded or she's getting offloaded, right? So I all you can do is try and do
I
your
read
best and do
on
your homework.
yeah, I read online that depends on the airport. Have you heard anything about that? Are there, bad airports that you should not try to exit out of? For example, Manila, that's supposed to be very bad. But other smaller airports, they're more flexible, and it's easy to travel internationally going out.
Actually, I have not.
Okay.
But that's actually a good idea. But
Yeah.
I need to research that a lot more. I haven't because of the quarantine, and I know it's going to be at least 4, 5, 6 months before we can travel abroad.
Okay.
And so yeah, I need to do some more research on that, because if that's the case, yeah, that's kind of important. But
Right. And I even saw somebody mention on a website that they even offer a short class. The immigration or some government department offers a short class to Filipinos who want to travel internationally. So once you've done that class, I'm wondering if that's uh, something to bring and show that you have a certificate from this class, that you're not. Uh, that you're basically aware of all the problems of human trafficking and you passed the class or whatever. Have you heard anything more about that, or is that
actually, yes, there was something I'd read about that, I'd heard about that Filipinos who were going OFW had to take a class before they could leave. There's a whole bunch of things they have to do before they can leave.
okay.
And one of them is human trafficking, because a lot of girls, as you know, are exploited. They'll be promised certain type of jobs in Japan or other countries, like in a restaurant with great pay, and then they come over there and it's just
Right.
nothing but a nude bar, right? And they're exploited. So there's a lot of that going on. So, but I think, if you're traveling with your boyfriend and you can prove that this is your boyfriend for the last 1 or 2 years, you have pictures, you have videos, you have a YouTube channel, I know, I'm pretty sure they understand that you're not one of those people. But again, if it's the wrong person in the wrong mood, you can still get offloaded. So,
Okay. And what would you say to the guys who are thinking about the Philippines as a perfect place to find a wife? They want to take a 2-week vacation to the Philippines. They want to find a wife and get married and bring it back to the U.S. or a country in Europe. What do you say to those guys?
I say, don't make the same mistake I did. Learn from me. No, really, you can't, this is my analysis of that. But you come here 2 to 5 weeks, let's say, and you meet a girl. Anybody can pretend to be anybody for a few weeks to reach a certain goal. And what is that goal? That goal might be to go to the US. That goal might be to exploit you financially. So I would be very, very careful and very, very hesitant. And talking to somebody online, you just don't know them. It takes at least 1 year to 2 years for the personality, for the real person to come out. People can hide stuff. And after you've been with them 1 year or 2 years, physically with them, in the same building, in the same house, apartments, slowly, you get to know that person. Online, you just don't know that person. I've heard some horror stories of people thinking they know the person, talking for 1 year or 2, and she has a lover. So I just, people can pretend to reach a certain goal, and I wouldn't do it. I've done it, and that was a mistake, and I wouldn't do it again.
You went to the Philippines to find a wife, and
well, not to find a wife, but I chatted with somebody, and I met her online and went here. I came to see her 2 or 3 times, and then I filed for fiance visa and all that stuff. But
wow! And how long did you spend with her on the 2 or 3 times you visited her?
2, 3 weeks each time.
Oh.
So less than 10 weeks total.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did it take her to bring her to, I guess it's the US where you were living at the time?
The fiance visa took 7 to 9 months.
Oh, okay.
At the time. I don't know. The length varies. It's probably longer now because of all the stuff going on. So,
okay.
But yeah.
But from the first meeting you met her until she was in your home country, how long of a period was that?
Oh, from the first time I met her till like probably I have to think back now. Sorry, about a year and a half, 2 years probably.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
So we were
and you-
chatting for a while, but it's again, you just don't know the people. And at the time, I was younger and not as what shall I say,
Not as
knowledgeable
streetwise.
of these things. You
Right.
know, I had the how shall I say this in a politically correct way? The Western mentality that, you know, women are so innocent and beautiful and nice, and it's all we men that are assholes and all that stuff. You know, I had that type of mentality, what they call blue pilled today. But I quickly learned from that, and you know, got divorced, and I'm actually very happy that we got divorced because my life has developed in a different way, and I've done well, and I'm now enjoying living in the Philippines. And if I didn't, I'd probably be stuck in the US with kids and maybe divorced 10 years after I got married and paying child support for the next, you know, 10 years and stuck in a job and being a slave to the woman and to the state. And I was lucky I never.
Yeah, that's a good point. But where is the ex now? Is she in the US or?
Yeah. She's in Dallas. She's in my. I mean, I don't mean anything bad about her, but she's a good girl, but it just didn't work out. After 6 years, we got divorced, and
she didn't want to move back to the Philippines after your divorce. No, she found a new significant other.
Well, she found someone, and then they split up, and then she found someone else, and yeah. So they're married now, and they're happily married, I think.
Okay.
So she's got a kid with him, and they've.
So would you recommend guys to bring a wife, so to speak, from another country like the Philippines back to their home country, or is it just too difficult to do? In terms of a long-term, lasting relationship.
There's so much to that, but I would say yes and no. Yes, if you know the girl. I mean, if you can have other, like for example, if you have a Filipina in the US and she's been married to a guy for 10 years and she has a cousin and she vouches for that person and she says she's a really good girl, you know, that might be a route to go, but it's still dangerous. And what I tell people is whatever you do, get a prenup and a postnup. So sign a prenup before 30 days or more before the wedding. And there are certain things, criteria you have to go through to make sure that the prenup is valid. I'm not getting into that now, but you also make sure that there's a postnup within 3 months of the marriage. And if she refuses to sign a postnup, then you divorce her straight away. And once you sign a postnup 3 months after the marriage, within 3 months after the marriage, then do a yearly postnup. And that way, the chances of that getting invalidated in court are minimal. So you gotta protect yourself financially today in the West because the courts are so to the nth degree on the woman's side that you will lose. I mean, you might, let's say you've worked really hard in your life and invested and been good financially and you got $2 million. You meet this girl in the Philippines, you're with her 2 years, she gets divorced, she's gonna get $1 million or more. Okay, and she hasn't worked a day in her life for that money. That's, I mean, I find that outrageous. But in the West, it's like that. It's like they allow women to steal men's money. That's basically what it is. You're stealing men's money. And you as a man, you have to protect yourself. You absolutely have to protect yourself these days. We're not living in the 50s and the 60s anymore. We're living in 2020. The divorce rate in the US, I think, is like 55%. For second and third time divorces is over 70, I think 70 or 80%. And women initiate 80%, 70 to 80% of all divorces. So those statistics really need to scare you straight and make sure that you protect yourself. You got to financially secure yourself. If you decide you're going to go that route, financially secure yourself. Yeah.
Okay. And if a guy, oh, by the way, of course, we're not attorneys. We're not giving legal advice, but you're just sharing your experience. But if a guy wants to have a love life, but he's not prepared to marry a woman, he just wants to go to the Philippines, enjoy life or whatever, is that a possibility, or is that difficult? In other words, like a partial long distance relationship, or would you recommend that, or is it just go to the Philippines for a couple of weeks and then have fun and then forget about everything, go back to your home country and continue working? What are the options for a single guy?
Both are options, but I would say I would not go the first route. I would not have a long distance relation, because that girl is going to expect something more, and that's blatantly unfair to her if you're just playing with her. So I would just go the route of just coming here, or just going online and telling a girl, hey, I'm not going to marry you. I'm not going to bring you over. I'm just going to be there for 2 weeks, and I'm going to go to these different resorts. Do you want to go with me? And I guarantee you 80 to 90% will say yes. You know, for them, it's a luxury they cannot afford and they just dream of. So they'll be willing to go with you and have a good time. So you don't need to lie. You don't need to manipulate. Just be honest about your intentions and you'll do fine.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're getting past 30 minutes here. Let's keep it fairly brief here. Any closing remarks to guys who are sitting in their home country right now and they're waiting for the virus to pass and they're itching to buy a ticket to the Philippines, and they're hoping to meet the love of their life, or at least start a love life? Do you have any advice for these guys who are thinking about going to the Philippines?
Well, if you're coming here to live, the advice is go slow. Do not find a girl in the first month and just say that's your girl. You know, just go slow, start dating. It takes 6 months to what's the word? Reacclimate. I can't think of the word, but for your, because you know you're so used to dating in the West. You're so used to the attitude of the West, the girls in the West, and it's a really bad attitude. So when you come here, it takes a while for your brain to adapt to that. So I would say date for at least a year. Don't make any commitments the first year. And whatever you do not meet a girl at the airport, because she's going to do everything to manipulate and control the situation so you don't meet any other girls. And you'll think this girl is wonderful. I guarantee you, you'll think this girl is worth her weight in gold because you never had anything like it. But there's so much out here. So date the first year, and sooner or later you're going to meet somebody that you really, really like and you really, really mesh with, and not just on the physical part, but also an emotional part. It's just like the way I met Mia, you know, it's not just the physical, it's much more than that. So I would advise guys, if they're coming here, slow down, and don't commit the first year, and don't commit to renting a place or a lease. I would move around the Philippines, do 2-3 months here, 2-3 months, go online, Google the different places, you know, find the different places and spend 2-3 months in each place. And you'll have plenty of dates, you'll meet plenty of women, and enjoy the life. Don't stress out. Enjoy the life and realize that things here in the Philippines move at a much slower tempo, and things are not always very logical here. And don't lose your temper. You know, just have an acceptance mode that this is the way it is, and I'm just accepting it the way it is.
Well, very good advice. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate all those pointers, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Nils. And for your viewers, check out Paul's Asian Adventure.